Everyone, I wanted to do a video today. I don't know how this is going to go because I haven't thought it out very well, so bear with me. But I wanted to do a video about the differences between being being a victim and being victimized, because they're actually two very, very different things. Very closely related, however, two very different things. A lot of people often think that once you have been victimized, that automatically makes you a victim. And I personally don't believe that to be true. These are my thoughts, my opinions. Feel free to disagree with me. You wouldn't be the first, and I'm sure you won't be the last. But I believe that being a victim is an identity with a corresponding emotional state. Uh, if you take on the identity of being a victim, you put yourself into a very specific state of being, and then you go out into the world, and that's how you show up, right? That's how you show up. It's how the world sees you, and you're literally walking around saying, "I am my wound," right? It's like if I went out to a bunch of people that I had never met before and said, "Hi, I'm Sarah," and I started introducing myself as Sarah. They would go, "Oh, okay," and they would start calling me by the name Sarah. It's literally what you're doing. You're saying, "Hi, I am this wound. This is who I am," and then everybody goes, "Oh, okay," and the world ends up agreeing with you, right? And that's how they start treating you. And then you start, like attracts like, and you start uh, attracting other people who are also wounded, who will justify this wound based identity that you've created for yourself. And you'll just stay together, stuck and wounded and indefinitely. Um, excuse me. Being victimized, on the other hand, uh, it it means you were wounded, but you don't let what happened to you define who you are and define how the rest of your life is going to go. Um, just because you have been victimized doesn't mean that you are a victim. There's a big difference. There's a big difference between "I am my wound" and "I was wounded." And I hope that you're able to see the difference. If you're not, please write me or reach out, because I would love to talk to you about it. But I hope that you can realize that if you identify yourself with either one of those, they're going to take your life down very, very different paths. Um, Millions of people are victimized every day, whether it's racism, sexism, sexual assault, religious persecution, whatever. You could be driving a car and get into a car accident because some drunk driver came down the road, hit you, and now you're injured for the rest of your life in some way, shape, or form. Um, but when you are victimized, you avoid becoming a victim by eventually adopting the mindset. Um, I am not defined by my past, no matter what has happened to me. And there's a natural grieving and healing process that comes along with being victimized, and being able to move through that and go through that process and adopting that mindset that you are not what has happened to you is eventually going to help you get out of or avoid becoming a victim. You don't have to ignore it. Whatever traumatic event has happened to you, you don't need to ignore it. You don't need to agree with it. You don't need to pretend it didn't happen. And forgiveness, it does not mean that you condone what happened. However, if you're not able to forgive and get out of it, the people or person who has hurt you is is going to just keep winning until you're able to get past that. And we take on the identity of being a victim after being victimized, and it makes sense because when something traumatic happens, we our bodies, ourselves, we go into fight or flight mode, and we create beliefs, emotions, stories, behaviors that are specifically designed to prevent any kind of further trauma. And the problem is that a lot of times we get stuck there. We get stuck in all of that muck, in the stories and the beliefs and the behaviors, as opposed to going through the natural healing process and the grieving process after being victimized, and moving through it to adopt a new belief system. So I invite you today, this week, whenever, to take a look at at your mindset and how you feel about this, and if this affects your life in any way, shape, or form, and make a decision to see if that's working for you, to see where you are. Um, and if you need help, if you need advice, please feel free to reach out. I'd love to talk more about this. If you disagree, that's cool too. Let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But I hope that you all have an amazing day.